Hi, my name is Ron van der Meer. I created the architecture pack together with Dane Sujak, who at that time was the architectural correspondent for the newspaper The Guardian. Here's the book in front of me. When I open the first spread, you can see where we put emphasis on architects and builders and how builders became master builders and master builders became architects. Here's an example of the first one. Imhotep is recognized as the first architect, and obviously the pyramids that he built. Underneath it we show how people used to live: mobile, teepees, wigwams, igloos, mud huts. And then we go over on to wood, and how wood was the first method by which one could build more permanent kind of homes, how wood was cut. Underneath the flap you can see the rest. And in the middle we've got a sample of a medieval house. And if you have a closer look, you can look even inside and see how people lived and how the construction was made. At the back of it, we show how people tended to really demolish the looks of a beautiful house by adding so-called more modern kind of parts to it. On the right hand side, you can see a lovely drawing there of a house where we use filtered glass, red and green. And if you look through the red one, you can see only the outside, and if you look through the blue one, you can see the whole house as such. That goes in here. At the top we've got planning and the making of a building. There's a little church. We've got these drawings of it. Underneath it, we put emphasis on a particular architect, in this case Frank Lloyd Wright, and his beautiful house, his famous house, Falling Water in Pennsylvania. And as you can see from here, there's some drawings that he made of the building and the sketches, etc. And some other examples of his work. Okay, over to the next spread. The next spread is about classical influence. And as you can imagine, that was based on the Greek temples, the proportions of the Doric order, Ionic order and the Corinthian order. And that decided the beautiful new houses that they built. Underneath here you've got the Colosseum, a sample of it. Again you've got a three-dimensional drawing. And then here they've got the most important one, that is the Palladio, the villa that Palladio built. He was one of the more famous architects, and you can even look behind it and underneath it. And here are the plans of the Palladio. And on the right hand side we talk about Michelangelo's man. It was all about proportion and the golden section, or the golden means by which these buildings were made. Underneath the flap we've got an example again of an architect, in this case Alexander Greek Thompson, because he was the one who put all these Greek looking kind of houses together in America. Okay, the next spread is about structure and form. We've got here the master mason. These are drawings for the Reims Cathedral, and underneath it we show you something that's quite nice, how they actually constructed these arches by attaching something there, and you can see how the arch sort of goes across, forms that one, and the other one forms the other one. Now this is a nice example of the new construction that builders made that allowed architects to come up with taller buildings, bigger windows, more light. So if you've got these arches here, you've got another construction like that that goes across, and you put it together like that, all of a sudden this structure, all it is made from paper, is extremely strong. And then if you put another one across, like that, it becomes nearly solid and rigid. You need to stand on it. Okay, we take it apart. And here we've got a prime example of how this Gothic building, new construction, was used. This is the Chartres Cathedral. See, with the buttresses on the side.
And here on the right hand side we show the development of the dome. You've got the dome of St. Paul's Cathedral. You've got Brunelleschi, that is the dome of Florence. And here is the construction of the dome. So you've got that basic structure here, and if you put that one across, it goes down, another one goes on top of it, and it slowly builds itself up. And obviously Michelangelo was involved in the St. Peter Cathedral. The next one is new materials and new shapes. It was quite important that in those days, because of the invention of different kind of concrete, the invention of glass, reinforced glass, plastics, etc. And the profile here in this case is Charles Rennie Mackintosh. He was not just an architect but also a furniture designer, and one of his famous buildings is the Glasgow School of Art. I used to stay there a couple of times in the visiting lecturer's apartment, and there was supposed to be a ghost, although I never saw one. Here you've got a cast iron building, obviously with glass again, and there's another example of glass in the modern world. Then we've got the other one, the Eiffel Tower, and then obviously in the middle, the more famous Sydney Opera House, which used glass and plastics. The plastic forms in concrete, other examples of various kind of buildings. And on the right hand side, steel and strength. And again, the same new technology. Here at the top, you've got the Munich Olympic Stadium and some other ones. The next spread is about architecture as art. So you've got the profile is Michelangelo, the artist and the architect, as I said earlier, St. Peter's. Underneath it, you've got the palaces that are built, and then underneath here the mausoleums, Taj Mahal, the reflection in the water. This is the Royal Pavilion in Brighton, outside to the inside. And here at the top, you've got the Japanese architecture. That is the Kinkakuji in Kyoto, which is architecture as art. And then another one is Gaudi and the modernism in Spain. This amazing building of Gaudi. Underneath here you get a flap of an English architect who came up with drawings based on the period, in terms of Egyptian level, Greek level, Roman level, etc. And underneath it you've got a famous Corbusier and a pilgrimage chapel of Notre Dame du Haut and a profile of Corbusier. And again, also a furniture designer and his famous buildings. The next spread is about the changing city. Now, thanks to the invention of the H-beam and obviously the lift, was one capable, where architects allowed and capable of building enormous tall buildings. Here's some samples of famous tall buildings, although obviously by now some more and taller buildings have been built. But you can see the function of the lift that allowed you to go up higher to a higher level. Here we've got the changing city of New York. This is in the picture of 1987. Next one is 1925. Next one is 1940. And obviously the present day. Privately is Louis Sullivan. He was the architect responsible for the buildings in Chicago. And then the other one, the building height. This is an example of how they had to build the base in such a way that the buildings actually could sway. And if you use the glasses, you can roughly see here how the buildings actually are allowed and built to move from left to right, and actually you can move up to 2 meters for earthquakes and winds. The form of the city. This is supposed to be the tallest building, and how they nowadays had like a town on its own, you know, in terms of what goes on. Airports, there's another form of architecture that is being used. The Kansai International Airport in Osaka. And here you've got how Paris grew from a small town with overlays. You can see how it slowly changed over the years. Okay, the next one. That is the process of a building. Now, what I wanted to show was how one